My name's Andrew Wilson and I'm one of the band directors here with Appoquinimink School District. Today we're going to go over how to make a sound on the French horn mouthpiece and then get a sound on the whole French horn as well. So first things first, whenever you get your case, don't open it up until your first lesson with your teacher. During your first lesson, you're going to sit on the floor, and the first few times that you open your case at home, you also want to sit on the floor, just in case you happen to open it the wrong way. Then it doesn't have very far to go if it does happen to fall out of the case. But what you want to do when you go to open up the case is you want to make sure the brand of the instrument is facing the ceiling. The brand of this instrument is Jupiter, and then you want to make sure the carrying handle is on the side of the case that when it opens, it's on the lower side. Once you've got those two things set, you can go ahead and unlatch the case. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the mouthpiece. Without the mouthpiece, you can't get a sound out of the French horn. When you're holding your mouthpiece, you want to make sure you just hold it between these three fingers. It is made of metal, and so if you take it and jam it back by your teeth too hard, you could chip your teeth, so that's why hold it with three fingers, that lighter touch. Now, when you go to put the mouthpiece up to your lips, you want 2/3 on the top lip, 1/3 on the bottom lip. Think of saying that'll get your mouth in the right position. What your mouth, the shape of your mouth, that's actually called your embouchure when you're playing. And then you also want to make sure that you tongue or separate each of your notes. The way that you tongue a note on the French horn is you want to make sure your tongue hits behind your top two teeth, ta, ta, ta. And I tell students to think of it like a gate. Your tongue is the gate, and it shouldn't let the air out until it releases and you start that first note with your tongue. So thinking getting your tongue set up behind your top two teeth. I'm going to play 4 quarter notes on our French horn mouthpiece. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is something called a siren. So when you're playing different notes on the French horn, in a minute you'll see it only has 3 keys, but you can actually get a lot more than 3 notes out of it. And the main way that you get those different notes out is the speed of your air. Some of it has to do with the shape of your embouchure, the shape of your mouth, but more so has to do with the speed of air that you're using. If you want a higher note, use faster air. If you want to play a lower note, then you have to use slower air. Slower air, think of fogging up a window. It's that speed of air. And faster air is more like when you're whistling a higher note. So I'm going to start in the middle, go to a higher pitch, come back to the middle, go to a lower pitch. You need to keep your lips together, but don't keep them too tight, because then you won't get a sound out. And if you leave them too loose, you also won't get a sound out. So right in the middle, keep them nice and firm. So you can practice sirens. That'll help you go from low to high. Remember, the faster air that you use, higher the note. The slower air you use, lower the note. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and put the mouthpiece into the body of the French horn. When you go to put the mouthpiece into the body of the French horn, you just need to take it, set it in what we call the lead pipe, and turn it about a quarter turn. Don't ever take your hand and tap it against the mouthpiece. It makes a neat sound, but it can get stuck. Your teacher may have a mouthpiece puller, but you also might have to take it to the music store, and if it gets stuck in there, it won't go back into the case correctly and it won't close. Then, once you have your mouthpiece in, we're going to talk about how we're going to actually hold the horn when we're playing it. So your teacher will give you one of 2 choices, depending on the size of your hand. Your teacher may ask you, this part here is called the bell. You're going to take your right hand, and your first choice is your teacher may ask you to hold the French horn up here, making sure there's an opening towards the bottom if you're holding it that way. If your hand's a little bit bigger, then what you're going to do, you're going to take your right hand, put your thumb down, cup it just a little bit, and again, the brand name of this French horn is Jupiter, you're going to take your hand and press it up against Jupiter, and then hopefully you can see that there's still an opening where I have my hand. You can't close off the bell completely, because if you do, you're not going to get a nice round sound, which is what we're after. All right, so we've talked about our right hand position. When you set the bell of the instrument on your leg, you want it off to the side of your leg. The lead pipe, I tell students that you don't want to come straight out like this. This isn't correct. Instead, you want to think about it as if you're skiing down a ski slope. The lead pipe should be, you're running down a hill, going down. Then you take your left pinky and put it in the pinky ring, and take your thumb and lay it in the thumb rest. Your fingers should be, these are our valves or our keys. You want to keep your fingertips right at the ends of the valves. So one of the very first notes you're going to learn is your F. To play an F, we're going to think, we're going to get our tongue set up behind our top two teeth, and then we're going to press what we call our first valve down. That's going to be one of the very first notes you learn, is your F. Now, after playing the French horn for a while, it's not uncommon for water or spit to build up in it, and so what you want to do is you want to take this back slide off, and wiggle it out, and then once you're holding this, and you can set it down, you would turn it this way, and the spit would empty into the trash can. So that's how you empty out your spit when you're playing. And then you may want to do that with your other valves as well. You can pull them out. Again, you would put them into the trash can and empty that out. So we went over how to buzz and get a sound out on just the mouthpiece, how to play one of our first notes, F, our right hand position, and now when we go to put our instrument away after we've cleaned out the spit, we can put it back in our case. You just have to turn the mouthpiece a little bit. Set it carefully back into the case. Put the mouthpiece in. Latch all the latches so that it doesn't happen to open up, because that would not be good if you went to stand up and your case opened up and your instrument fell on the floor. That's why the first few times you're doing this, set your instrument on the floor at home. But that's how to get a sound out of our mouthpiece, buzzing our lips together, playing an F on the French horn. So make sure you put your instrument in a place you're going to remember so that you're ready to practice the next day.